Going, Going, Gone. This is a reading roundtable story, and it's being read by Cameron Kemp, and that's me. Today, we're going to read about things that we used to see every day and now have disappeared. Some young people may never have seen them or even know about them. For example, do you remember disposable razor blades? There's a picture of one there. We used to buy razor blades and use them one at a time. Gillette and Wilkinson were famous brands for these. Remember the saying Wilkinson swords? Wilkinson was a sword maker that went into making razor blades from the United Kingdom, from Britain. There was even a slot in or near medicine cabinets where you could dispose of the razor blade once it was no longer being used. Now you get 5 blades at once in a razor blade, and they're disposable like the ones we see here. Did you ever meet an encyclopedia salesman at your door? There was a time when a person would try to earn their living doing this. I remember an encyclopedia salesman came to our door, and my mom was talking to him about her son, me, and my brother, and the encyclopedia salesman said, if you buy this set of encyclopedias and let them loose on these, they will learn so many things, it'll be good for them. And so my mom bought a set of the American People's Encyclopedia. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that before. Most people bought Encyclopedia Britannica at the door. Now the information is printed in the internet, where you want to see what was previously in an encyclopedia. Nothing's printed. You just go to Google and you put in something and you can find out just about anything. What other things were sold door to door? You remember the Fuller brush man? People would sell brushes from door to door. Did you ever have a magazine salesman? I remember people would try to work their way through college selling magazines. You don't see that anymore. Sometimes people would come to your door to sell newspapers, and that's not there anymore. Televisions used to have tubes inside of them, vacuum tubes. If your TV didn't work, you could take a tube to the store, you would take it out, you could put it in the machine to test it to see if this was the one you needed to replace. I cannot imagine anyone today taking apart a TV and trying to fix it. There are no tubes anymore. So yeah, today no one would dream of looking inside of a TV. It's all wires, mostly boards and circuitry. They're not meant to be able to be repaired by someone in their own home. Typewriters used to be mechanical and had black and red ribbons to make different colors. I remember taking typing in high school as a class, and we would have to type a particular sentence. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy white dog. And when you typed out that sentence, it made you type every letter in the alphabet. When you typed to the end of the line, a bell would ring, and then you had to move the typewriter back to the starting point. Tap, 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 ding, whoosh. What happened if you typed a mistake? There used to be little pieces of paper that you would put over the mistaken letter, and you'd hit the mistaken letter again, and that little piece of paper would cover it up. And there's also this thing called whiteout. Service stations were places where you would get service for your car. It wasn't just a place to get gasoline. Someone would come out and pump your gas while other people would wipe your windshield, check your oil or tire pressure, So there would be a number of people who would come out when you would pull into the service station. Today, only in the states of Oregon and New Jersey do you have people who put gas in your car. It's interesting, in those states, you cannot do self-service to put gasoline in your own car. You have to have somebody else do that. I wonder why that is. Nowadays, you have to take care of everything for yourself. It's all self-service. Telephones had to be dialed with a rotary dial. There is a bell inside of the phone to make it ring. Telephone numbers had names like Melrose 2345. You could use a payphone for a dime. Sometimes girls on dates would keep dimes in their loafers just in case they decided to ditch the date and they needed to call to get a ride home. There were also party lines which people had to share. And so sometimes people, though they shouldn't do it, sometimes people would listen in on party lines to hear other people's conversations. Computers used to need punch cards to run, created by a machine like a typewriter to punch holes in the cards. And then these cards would be fed into a reader, and that's what would be the data that went into the computers. I remember working for Exxon, and there was a whole room full of, in those days, women who were sitting there at a station that looked like a typewriter, and they were typing in and they were creating these punch cards that would be used to do billings. That is an occupation that doesn't exist anymore, a punch card operator, punch card typist. Punch cards were replaced by floppy disks. Did you ever own a computer using floppy disks? I remember one time there was a colleague of mine who was working all day on a computer, and she had one of those even bigger floppy disks that were black and that were like 5¼ inches square. And she was eating a banana, and a piece of the banana fell on the floppy disk. And then she couldn't find any of the data that she'd been working on all day. She lost a day's work because a piece of a banana dropped on a floppy disk. Did you ever have a doctor make a house call at your house? The doctor would arrive with a case or bag that had what was needed to treat patients at home. I remember one Saturday I got sick, and my mom called, and the doctor came with a black case and opened up, and he had some penicillin and a needle in it, and he gave me a shot. Got me better, but I was always mad that the doctor came and invaded my house to give me a shot. I was a little boy at the time. So sometimes the doctor came at nights or on weekends. Today, you need an appointment to see a doctor. And for something like a physical, sometimes it takes a long time to wait. You may have to make an appointment way in advance to be able to see a doctor. Westerns used to be very popular on TV. There were shows like Gunsmoke and Bonanza. They stayed on for many years, and there were plenty of other Westerns on every network. Do you remember Bonanza? It had the dad, it had the three half-brothers, Hoss, Adam, and Little Joe. Lots of movie stars began their careers on horseback. Mornings would bring a visit from the milkman. That's another business that we don't see anymore. Milk came in glass bottles, and when empty, you would put them outside your door, and the milkman would bring new bottles of milk. Sometimes he would bring ice cream too, so it wasn't just milk. I liked our milkman because he would bring ice cream to us. He would also let me go through his change to look for coins that I didn't have. I was a coin collector. Handwriting was a course you had to take in school. I know I always got my lowest grades in handwriting and penmanship. People were expected to write letters in cursive, and good penmanship was considered an important skill. Do you remember making ovals over and over again on paper to improve your handwriting? What are some things that have disappeared that you miss? That looks like a brownie camera. I remember photos being taken with those old-timey cameras back when I was a little boy. What are some other things that have disappeared that you miss? I'll let you think about that. What do you think is going to disappear next? Will television go away? Will newspapers go away? Things at least that are printed on paper. Who are some movie stars who starred in Westerns on TV? Remember Steve McQueen? I think he was in Wanted, Dead or Alive. James Gardner? I think he was in Maverick. Michael Landon? I think he played Little Joe. And then, of course, remember Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke? That was James Arness. Did you ever have to use a party line? I remember we had to do that every once in a while in places we lived. The number of rings told you who the call was supposed to be going to. What famous superhero would change into his costume in a payphone booth? That looks like Batman, but it wasn't him. I think it may have been Superman, but I never could figure out how he could wiggle around in a phone booth and be able to get clothes off and on. There wasn't a lot of space. Do you remember sometimes people would try to see how many people could fit into a phone booth? Did your family have a milkman? If so, what did the milkman bring for you? Did you get chocolate milk? Do you remember the name of the milkman? Ours was Dale, as I recall. What brand of gasoline did your family use in their car? Is there a brand of gasoline that has gone away? I remember a gasoline called Fina, F-I-N-A, and they had a marketing gimmick. They said, "We will have pink air for your tires by 1966. And their gasoline trucks would all be painted pink with a 1966 logo on them. So we thank you for this reading, and we hope you're able to have some discussions either with other people or just thinking about these for yourself. Would you like to do this again sometime? We have some other stories that are read like this. And we want to thank our Unsplashed photographers for the photos that we were able to use in this reader. And here's our contact information. So we want to thank you once again for listening in, and we hope you'll get a chance to hear some other Reading Roundtable stories. So thank you and have a good day.